Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is a little bit different than normal. I am making these videos right now because I am currently on vacation. Nate and I are currently up in Alaska, so I didn't have time to actually record anything or make any footage. So I thought I would go ahead and give you guys a story time on some of the popular stories that are in my life. But this one is probably one of the most popular stories I've ever told. This is the time that I dumped my girlfriend via PowerPoint. It is definitely one of the most interesting stories I've ever had in my life, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so back in high school, I dated this girl. I don't know, we were dating for probably about 6 months. And things were already rocky at this point before I dumped her. I think a few months before that, she tried to convince me to stay together. And so she drove me 5 miles out of town so I couldn't leave. So I had to pretty much get back together with her. Otherwise, I'd be left 5 miles out of town. And for reference, I don't know, this is probably about 10 years ago. So, I mean, we weren't as technologically advanced as we were then. I mean, I still probably had a flip phone. So then everything happened at the beginning of the year. It was probably January. And at this point, you know, I'm a busy kid. I'm in all sorts of sports and stuff. So I don't always have the time to be available when things are going on. And so one night, I tried FaceTiming her, and that night, she has this guy over that she says that she is tutoring. And you may be thinking to yourself, Joey, that should be a red flag. What are you doing? Well, I don't know. Being a teenager, my head isn't where it's supposed to be, alright? My brain is in my cock and balls. I didn't think twice about it. Not to mention, there was also 2 girls over there at that time as well. So, in my head, you know, nothing would have happened if there's 2 other girls over there, right? Wrong. A few nights after that everything happened, the girls ended up reaching out to me, telling me that, you know, that the guy was there ahead of time before they were there, and they were being very flirtatious, and then she may have insinuated that they were doing something prior to the other girls getting there. And, you know, at that point, they knew that I was dating her, so, you know, they knew something was a little goofy. And when I finally FaceTimed them, she had told them that we were on a break and that I was FaceTiming so that we could work things out to get back together. Now, look, when I eventually heard that and that they had mentioned that she said that we were on a break, oh man, was I pissed off. Obviously, whenever you get cheated on, it is so heartbreaking. I don't know how to explain it. But just know that if you're ever in that scenario where you potentially could get cheated on, you gotta get out first. Because it will destroy you if you do not handle it properly. And it's safe to say what I did, I handled it properly. This is also why I ended up dumping her by PowerPoint, is because I felt so hurt and betrayed that I wanted to do something that would really hurt and betray her. And so I felt like doing an unorthodox breakup would really get to her, and it did. And I went all in on that thing. Now the thing about this PowerPoint, it was a little different than what you would have expected. Now, no, I didn't just, put it up in front of the entire class and just go slide by slide just roasting her, or just had one slide that said I'm breaking up with you, right? No. What I did is that I took everything I hated about her family, anything that pissed me off, that I didn't like, any differences between us, I put it in this PowerPoint. And I emailed it to her. And I happened to be very lucky that when I emailed it to her, I got to hear her actual reaction to it. So what ended up being perfectly timed was she actually went over to a friend of mine, Garrett, if you don't know, is in multiple videos of mine. She went over to his house the day that I was sent the email. Now, before you think, red flag alert again, no, Garrett didn't sleep with her at that point. I'm sorry to do this to you, Garrett, but I'm going to tell the time that you lost your virginity. Months later down the road, Garrett walks up to me in the hallway at school and he just goes, "Hey, Eskimo brother." Weirdest thing ever, but it was really funny at the time. So that's when I knew Garrett had lost his virginity, because he ended up doing it with my ex later on. But to continue, she ended up going over to his house because they were close and they were friends. And so I had emailed a copy of what I was going to send to her to Garrett. And Garrett had to scrub it off his computer right before she got there so that she didn't realize that there was another copy already on the computer. Obviously, I had sent it to all my friends. I wanted them all to fact check it, make sure everything was good, so that when I sent it to her, it was chef's kiss, right? And the best thing about this is I can still vividly remember when she started to open the PowerPoint, is because me, Garrett, one of our other friends, Noah, we were all playing COD Zombies when this happened. So I remember building up a window as I hear her scream bloody murder through Garrett's mic. And I had the biggest grin on my face, too. Like, it's not very often that, like, you can hear them lose their shit and also not get the repercussions of it because they're, miles away from you. But it was to die for. Like, obviously, I had sent it to my friends. They had known about it. I wasn't planning on sending it out to anyone. Like, this was just strictly just to be for my friends to see, to her, and that was going to be the end of it, right? Obviously, that didn't happen. What ended up happening is people at school had heard about what had happened, and they had desperately wanted to see the PowerPoint. Now I didn't send it to anyone, but someone got into my backpack while I was in gym and emailed it to themselves. And then they sent it to everyone else. So it spread through like wildfire in the first week. Everyone had heard it. People were roasting her. The one I vividly remember is in gym class. She wasn't throwing a dodgeball correctly. And a guy goes, "Hey, throw the dodgeball. Or do I need to make you a PowerPoint on how to do it?" Like, people were visceral to this girl after they had heard about it and saw the PowerPoint. And look, I just want everyone to be clear. At this point in my life, I don't care about that PowerPoint. Like, this thing, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I don't bring up the story anymore. I just thought this would be the last time I'd ever have to tell the story, and then I'd never, ever have to tell it again, so I can just show them this video. Also, she ended up trying to go into the military, and it spread far enough that someone in the military had brought it up, like in her basic training. Obviously, I don't think they were aware she was the one that got the PowerPoint, but someone had mentioned at one point that they had heard about someone getting dumped by a PowerPoint. So, like, it had made it across state lines at this point. Like, people had heard all about this thing. I also just want to mention that at this point, too, like, if you were aware and who this girl actually is, like, don't bring it up to her. Like, she has her own life now. I have my own life now. If this happens to get back to her, just know that, like, I'm not doing it with malicious intent. I'm just telling the story so I never have to tell it again. No bad blood. And now with that being said, I'm sure the question now everyone that's asking that's made it this far into the video is, am I going to show the PowerPoint? You can't just bring it up and not show us. But the thing is, I can. And I will be. I'm not going to show the PowerPoint. I actually had a great way to send it off, and so I never plan on showing the PowerPoint again, no matter who asks. Frickin' the President of the United States could ask about this PowerPoint, and I will not show it. Because a few years ago, my mom passed away from cancer, and on one of her final days that she happened to be coherent, she requested to see the PowerPoint. I stopped showing it a few years ago, even before that point. Not very many people had seen it since I had stopped originally. In those final days, she asked to see it. What was I supposed to say? No? Like, fuck off? Like what do you say to a dying mother that wants to see this? So I did as one of her final wishes. So I gathered all of my siblings into the living room with my father and my mom, and I put it up on the TV, and I went slide by slide. I went through all 22 slides. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there's 22 slides to this thing. It was lengthy. There were memes in it too, so like, it was something else. I also forgot to mention that at the end of the PowerPoint, I play We Are Never Getting Back Together by Taylor Swift, and she was a Swiftie at that point. I ruined Taylor Swift for her. I know I did. And this was also before the song 22 came out, before Taylor Swift. So I'm coming for those royalties one way or another, because I deserve those goddamn royalties. It just can't be a coincidence, alright? It can't be. But yeah, after my mom requested to see it, I felt like there was really no one else that ever needed to see it again. You know, its time had passed and I was ready for it to be gone. So I don't know where the PowerPoint is. It might be on a computer somewhere. It might be in an email. Who knows? But I don't ever intend on looking for it again. I know. I brought it up, and now you guys all want to see it, and I'm sure a lot of you would love to see it. But it's not how this works, all right? I put my foot down, and that's the end of it. I'm sorry. With that all being said, I hope you guys did enjoy the story. If you guys made it this far into the video, please consider liking, commenting what other questions you might have about the PowerPoint, and at least, if not all, consider subscribing, as it does help the channel, and so that way you can see the next crazy video that I have lined up for next week. Other than that, I will see you guys next week.